Great. Hi, everyone. My name is David Eriksson. I'm Chief Creative and co-founder of a company called North Kingdom, Design and Communication.
Hiding behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Felix. I've been at North Kingdom for 7 years now. I work as an art director.
And we are here to talk about, well, you wrote the headline, Living in an Augmented Reality, but basically we're going to talk about VR and AR and the work that we've done and we're currently doing for some of our bigger international clients. Just quickly before we start, we're a team about 55 individuals. We have our head office up in Skellefteå, where we were founded in 2003. The biggest office is here in Stockholm at Sankt Eriksgatan 63. But we also have an office in LA, where it's currently 5 people. We have a few satellites spread around Sweden: Göteborg, Glaverström, Gävle, Umeå. I think that's all. Over the years, we worked with quite a few different types of clients, mostly on a project basis. We don't do retainers. Currently, we're working with Supercell, Lego, HBO, Ferrari. Did I forget anything? Google, on an international level.
How could you forget that?
Yes, sorry. Just to give you a little idea of what we do, I'm going to run through the show quite quickly.
This time I keep it over you. This time I keep away from you. This time I keep away from you.
We thought we'd start with talking a little bit of our point of view, because AR, VR is on everyone's lips right now, and we have a perspective. We talk a lot about designing for the experience age. So we'll give you a little bit background around that. We believe that we're leaving sort of the screen-based information age behind us. We're entering a new era where technology helps us feel, sense, and experience more, and we call that the experience age. It's not longer a question about what we do with technology, but what technology does with us as humans. As the information age was about data and efficiency, this coming of age will be about how technology, or should be about how technology helps us to be more emotional and more human. Consumer experiences will be about tapping into people's lives, creating meaningful and relevant micro-moments that are contextually relevant, shaping a spatial pattern of digital and physical touchpoints. And that we usually relate to as the interspace. Companies or brands need help to understand how they should weave their products, services, and brands into people's lives. They also need help to understand how they, in a world of experiential abundance, leave an emotional impact with their consumers. We at North Kingdom, we create emotional connections between brands and consumers by innovating experiences, products, and services that are meaningful and relevant in people's lives. We are not kingdom. We design for the experience age. And speaking about that, we can see there are sort of things happening in the world around us, and technology is, of course, fueling the experience age. Technology will drive digital transformation in the coming years by opening up new revenue streams and change the way we work, play, and interact and communicate. And these are, it's actually defined by IDC, 6 different areas where we will see mostly, within the coming years, we will see lots of innovation. And they talk about the Internet of Things, cognitive systems like AI, machine learning, next generation security, cyber warfare, all that stuff that is happening. Augmented and virtual reality, robotics, I'm not sure how well you follow Boston Dynamics and the progress they're doing there. And of course, 3D printing, where I saw an article just this week about they printed a house in 24 hours. So these areas will, of course, fuel the experience age. And today we're looking at one of those areas, augmented and virtual reality. If you look at augmented reality, actually not that much has happened since the 80s or the 90s. I remember seeing the first movie about VR called The Lawn Mower Man. Basically, the headset he had on looked exactly like the headsets, the high-end devices that we're using today.
The toaster on your face.
Yeah, the toaster on your face. And it's kind of interesting how it once again is on everyone's lips, and we stand there in awe of technology, and the talk is this the next generation computing platform. And you sort of, when the Swedish king show up at your office trying out VR, you need to ask yourself, is this a gimmick or have we reached peak VR in a way? It's kind of awkward to just put on the headset on his head.
You told me yesterday you were worried. Could you touch his hair?
Yeah, it was
is that okay?
You softly slide it on, but then I got the assistant by his assistant.
Apple.
Yeah, Apple. When we talk about AR and VR, I think this is actually a good question. How many here has tried VR? It's pretty much everyone. Last time I did it was like 10%, but here is more, which is good. But when we relate to AR or VR, I think it's important to think about it in a reality-virtuality continuum, where on one side you have reality, on the other side you have virtuality. And today we're sort of gonna cover the whole continuum. But mostly right now it's on VR that people are talking about. And the promise is really high because we live in a world where you can visualize the future, and it can sometimes be very far away from the actual consumer experience. So the promise is really high, but when you do get to experiences, it doesn't live up to your expectations. And the first time I saw this video, I was really, really excited about what the future might hold. And it's still that vision to be able to experience this that makes me excited about VR. guys, they're setting up VR experience centers around the world. Has anyone been to New York and tried that one? Ghostbusters? I was actually happily surprised by that one. So they did an experience with Ghostbusters where you walk around, you're 4 people. Is Frida here? No? It's one of my team members. We're part of doing that experience. So you walk around with a VR backpack on your shoulders, basically, and you try to catch monsters in VR. Really, really good. I thought, but of course it had glitches. It's nowhere near that, so it kind of still makes you disappointed. But if I wouldn't have seen that, I would have thought it was the coolest experience ever. On the other hand, you have AR, and no one knows where this is going. It feels like it's still lacking a little bit commercial applications. Everyone is talking about Magic Leap being the sort of the world's biggest startup, $4 billion, I think, $2.5 billion. And no one knows what the actual product looks like. But the promise is it's going to change our lives. So if it's going to be like when I saw Sten showing me the iPhone the first time in Oslo back in 2000, I don't know. But the promise for time. Here, on the other hand, there has been some killer applications which we might not think about. But Pokemon Go is AR, and it's in everyone's hands. The promise is also high when we have people like business thought leaders like Mark Zuckerberg talking about VR as the biggest social, or has potential to be the most social platform, because you actually feel like you're there. And I can understand that. My first VR experience was watching a singer-songwriter called Patrick Watson in his creative process. And it was a simple, just 360 VR where he was sitting in his studio and he was in his creative process creating music. It felt very, very intimate and personal. And then I thought, what if this would have been Justin Bieber and I was a 14-year-old girl? I would have been really, really excited. I would definitely have paid for it. So Mark Zuckerberg is promising a better, more humane future with VR. And then you have, on the other hand, you have Apple and Tim Cook, who's kind of dissing VR, but he speaks about AR as the next thing. And the rumor is that they have 1,000 engineers somewhere sitting thinking about AR. Current state is this year, VR and AR will hit around $13 billion. The projection is $80 billion by 2025. 800 miljarder as a market. That's bigger than the Hollywood industry in 2025. That was Goldman Sachs that said that. So of course there's a lot of stuff happening and the curve is really exponential. Nevertheless, it's interesting to look at what is actually being done today, what has been done, what is the state of VR. And we thought we'll walk you through some old cases and some new cases, and hopefully we have time at the end to discuss and have some questions, because I think it's important to have a very open conversation about this. So Felix, you can take it away.
Yes. So one might say that we still lack a good array of examples, good examples, that carries a commercial value, that are VR and AR projects. A lot of what has been done today is more experimental. And we are proud to be on the frontier of this movement, to be one of the lucky few to have clients that want to explore what VR and AR can mean in case of consumer-friendly products. So I'm going to jump into showing you an old project here. This one is 5 years old. We did this together with Vodafone Germany. They wanted to tell their customers that they are Germany's best provider of mobile network data fastness. They are really fast with providing data. And we created this location-based augmented reality game that was launched as an app where, okay, hold on here, this might sound familiar. Users could roam their city using a map to spot small monsters that we called buffer monsters that would then personify the slow data that Vodafone wanted to move away from. And then users could then go into a store and unload these monsters. So you be the judge. I'm going to show you the showcase here. But it might be that we we feel that we have inspired 2016's most successful mobile app.
Vodafone was named Germany's fastest mobile network. To communicate this, we created a mobile augmented reality experience using all of Germany as the arena. You need to find, trap, and deliver buffer monsters so that the world can become a faster place to live in. Yes, they're bad invisible creatures that slows everything around us down, including ourselves. First, scan the map to see where monsters are located. Once you've found them, turn your phone 90 degrees to switch into augmented reality mode. Search the area, and when you see a monster, trap it. You can capture up to 50 buffer monsters in your buffer tank before it gets full. If it gets full, you will need to dump them off at any Vodafone store across Germany. In exchange for buffer monsters, we will award you points, as well as getting collectible badges that you can share with your friends. The best buffer busters will get a chance to win 1 out of 3 lifetime plans from Vodafone. Game is on.
So we didn't have quite the IP to work with that Nintendo had, but yeah, this was 5 years ago. We do and have done a lot of work with Disney. They came to us because they wanted also to explore what VR could mean to their users. In a future vision project we did with them, we explored the user journey and spotted a gap here, where their attendees that go into parks stand in line for a long time and are kind of inactive. Disney has these parks, these timeshare resorts where customers can buy vacation time. And the usual way that they used to do this was that employees of Disney came up to the attendants and they would ask them to fill in a paper form. What we explored together with Disney was, okay, could we show their customers what it would be like to be there in person? So, for example, Disney has these resorts in Hawaii. So you buy timeshare, you buy a spot to have a vacation in one of their hotels. Could we show them what the experience would be like being on Hawaii, seeing the hotel room, seeing the trips you could make, where you go out sailing or go out to waterfalls? Could we show that in VR and have future potential customers be even more thrilled about their experience? So we took this 3D printed GoPro rig with us to Hawaii. And this was, well, might have been 2 years ago now, that me and a few colleagues went to Hawaii. So this proves also the fast pace of the technology that we have here today in this business. This was a 3D printed rig. This was what was offered at the time. This was before the Google Jump rig. It didn't have any extra battery support or any type of convenience in that way. So it was a really inconvenient way of recording 360 videos. But in any case, this is what it looked like. So we placed the camera in different environments that we wanted to show the potential guests, and then we pressed record, and then we went and to hide behind a bush because you don't want us in that video. So that was a pretty awkward feeling. I'm going to show you a video that we created for our client here as well to demonstrate what a customized Google Cardboard product would look like. So the idea would be that we then customize Google Cardboards that would be then represent the different locations that we wanted to show people. In this case, Hawaii. So we'll see if this becomes reality. You might be familiar with The Simpsons, and hopefully you are familiar with the experience that we created with Matt and the creator of the show and his team. For their 600th episode, they asked us to help them create a VR experience for their couch gag. And you might wonder what a couch gag is. Well, that is the intro of each episode. So the story is different every time. The family goes down to sit in the sofa, but the concept is the same. We worked closely with Matt and his team. This is the mixed setup of a few of us and a lot of them. We worked closely with the illustrators as well, since our role was more on the development side and the concept side of things here. This was I would like to call it a semi-interactive experience. So based on gaze input, the user could trigger different parts of the story. And this was launched through the Google Spotlight Stories app. And showing is hard. I felt that when I showed the Disney VR experience that we created. But experiencing is better. So we actually have 2 Daydream headsets with us today. This app is launched, or this experience is launched on the Google Stories app, so you can try it on your own, or afterwards today you can use one of our Daydream devices and you can experience it yourselves. Anyhow, I'm going to show you a recording of the experience.
Really bad recording.
It's a really bad recording, so bear with us, but it gives...
Here comes 2.
Is it VR yet?
No.
Is it VR yet?
No.
Is it VR yet?
Yes! You do not know how stupid you look in those glasses.
I spent the night with a futon. Ooh.
You don't look so good there, pal.
Oh. We're saved! No!
I think the challenge here was when the writers came to us, it was a very linear story. And how do you turn a linear story into something that is interactive and that is actually you as a viewer or user that directs the intro? So the gaze controlled interaction was a way of doing it, but it's very difficult to describe how it works. So please feel free to come up later on and try it on. Or just download Spotlight Stories because it exists there.
You can actually use it without VR glasses.
Yes.
It's not the same experience though, but. So just as Disney, we have other clients that have approached us wanting to explore this territory. McDonald's being one of them. So together with DDB Stockholm, maybe someone here? Yeah, one. We created this thing called Happy Goggles to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Happy Meal. We created a Happy Meal box that would fold into a pair of VR glasses, allowing customers in these selected stores or restaurants to be able to download and try out this game called Slope Stars. And this was a interactive game where depending on where you would turn your head, you would steer your way down towards the end of the ski slope. And yeah, it worked well, even though the conclusion was that when kids eat Happy Meals, they get greasy fingers. So I don't know. We'll see how we can improve this concept. Do you want to add anything here? Feels like I'm forgetting something.
That's good.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to show you a small video this time as well, so you get the full picture.
Say hello to Happy Goggles, a unique VR viewer made from an ordinary Happy Meal box. North Kingdom developed the first VR game, Slope Star, that was launched together with the Happy Goggles. Slope Stars opened up the door to a world of fantasy, fun, and perhaps most importantly, how to ski safe in the slopes. In a joint design venture, DDB Stockholm, North Kingdom, and a bunch of kids designed and developed a full 360 degrees game that allowed the users to ski down an infinite slope just by turning their heads in different directions and keep focus on the track. For the users that didn't access any Happy Goggles, Slope Stars could still be experienced and played in normal view. With lush 3D environments and funny characters, we brought the game to life and added another dimension to skiing that you simply can't find in the real slopes. The result became an amazing VR skiing game and tons of happy kids.
So just to add, what I think that this really represents is accessible VR. And that is something that is representative of where this, so to say, movement is at in its current state today.
We also, what is fun with that is we actually ran it at Nordsken, which is kind of a big Gamescom in Skellefteå. And it's fun to see kids having their first VR experiences when they explore what they can do with it, and sort of in, how do you say, i motsats till us old people, they actually have a lot of experience, fun, and exploring the VR experience. So that was a small project that we did with DDB and McDonald's here in Sweden. In parallel to that, we were working with McDonald's in US, and in the same way as we work with Disney, exploring kind of a future vision, doing backcasting, looking 3 to 5 years from today, what will the digital interfaces be like, what are the digital platforms, and how can we create experiences that are meaningful and relevant on those platforms. We worked with McDonald's US and think they are a brand that is in sort of, they have problems and they need to work with it. So they're thinking a lot about what is the future restaurant experience, and what digital platforms are part of that future restaurant experience. And they're interested, they're starting to explore VR as a tool to communicate what McDonald's restaurant experience will be 3 years from now. So we worked with them developing basically a storyline where you, from the eyes of 3 different target groups, skaters, family, and friends, at 3 different times of the day, how the ordering experience can be enhanced and improved using digital interfaces. And our tool for communicating that was VR. Then we worked with Google and their Jump Rig, which is then, compared to the one that you did.
I wish I had this one. Yeah.
The Jump Rig is a very powerful, simple tool to actually record VR in true stereoscopic film. So it's a rig of 16 cameras, and I actually think that GoPro started to sell their own setup for shooting. But they also have a software that assembles all the images, so the stitching is perfectly done in a good way. And that's also one thing that we won't go into details on, but it's a big difference between, well, 360 that isn't shot in stereoscopic and actually true stereoscopic VR. So I think actually starting with Jump and starting exploring shooting videos is a good way to start. The result of this actually ended up a simple video that followed the characters through the ordering experience in this future McDonald's, how they interacted, how actually for the restaurant team members also, how they worked in behind the scenes and in preparing the food, etc. So it's a dual view, the target group, but also the restaurant workers. It's not much to see because it's quite complicated. We haven't done any video on it, just to show how the feed looks like when it's not properly. That's enough. Yeah, but it's long and it doesn't make sense to actually see it in this format. You need to be part of it. And if you only shoot with 360 regular spherical 360, you don't get the depth sense. But stereoscopic VR actually, things that are further away feel further away.
It takes into account that you actually have 2 eyes instead of 1, hence stereoscopic compared to then monoscopic.
Moving on to this experience that we did with FX, an American Horror Story, last year in Comic-Con San Diego. They were ramping up for the sixth season of American Horror Story. And they also, in that, they wanted, for Comic-Con, they wanted to engage all the fans that they have and also pay homage to the 5 seasons that's been, and also hint about the upcoming season. And the idea that we basically had is VR is a very strong emotional tool. I actually think that games is not perfectly done for VR. I think whenever you try to give a user or a viewer an emotion, it's the perfect tool. And what haven't you experienced before that you could experience in VR? Our idea was basically a death simulator, that you would experience death in VR, because it can put you in that situation. In the end, FX thought that was a little bit too tough, so we had to turn it down a little bit. So it wasn't a death simulator, it was actually facing your fears in there, where we had 5 scenes in the end, but the initial concept was 5 deaths, 5 resurrections, and 1 kind of final grim reveal. Part of this, we also then started thinking about scenes or fears that we as humans have that we could put the user in. For example, falling. I don't know if any one of you have experienced falling in VR, but it's a stomach sickening feeling. So if you're up for motion sickness, it's not the best thing to be doing. The feeling of claustrophobia, drowning, it's another fear that we have as humans. Being closed up in a very small environment, but also then slowly drowning. Heights, many people are afraid of heights. Actually, I don't know how many are afraid of being burnt alive, but I guess it's not a very gentle experience. But it's also connected then to an American Horror season where some of the characters was burnt alive. Clowns are of course very scary things, especially when they want to murder you. Bondage, depending on who you are, it can be a scary thing. Decapitation, that idea of actually that thought that that's your, do you still experience stuff once your head is decapitated? And then what is the kind of final scare? What is it that we can experience that actually makes people really, really excited? We knew that we usually talk about lean in, lean out experiences, where the lean out is mostly creating a passive experience, where it's about watching and experiencing, where the lean in is a more active, more interactive experience. This was for a public installation where there are lots of cues. You have perhaps 2 minutes, and then you need to sort of run people out and bring in the new ones. So we had this idea that we would create a vault, an experience center, where people who come in group and actually lie down, because that would be more effective to have 5 people at the same time. So you would have a synchronous experience with 4 other people. So you would move into this space, you would lie down, just to make people more relaxed and don't want to interact, because once you start interacting, you're not really in control of the timing. So basically, people would move into this black box. They didn't know what was inside. We would have a sort of a voiceover guide when people stepped inside. People would enter the space and lie down, guided by the instructors in white robes. Just that thing about being wrapped up in a blanket, not being able to actually move, could be kind of scary. So the experience starts before you put on the actual headset. And then there's a storyline inside the headset. We needed to stay very put on a certain amount of time that has a resolution, and then there's a kind of reflection area in it. We try to approach it always from this kind of consumer journey. What is the experience before, during, and after, and how do we make sure that we focus on one experience but also ramp up and take care of it afterwards. This is an image from inside the box. As you can tell, it's kind of a scary thing when you just move in with people that you might not know, and you just lie down and you put on the headset, and then the experience starts. It's a little bit dark, but I hope you can do the takeaway still.
Welcome. Thank you for committing yourself to us today.
What we were truly looking at was putting people through an experiment that was going to take them through some of their biggest fears and phobias, things that we've seen in AHS to date that might have resonated with them, might have scared them, might have been the one element they pull out of a particular season and felt like that was the scariest portion of it.
In just a few moments, you'll be taken on a journey to explore the deepest parts of your darkest fears.
We were creating a simulator that was going to allow them to face those fears and really to experience in real life in a contained environment. But with that VR, they're going to feel as though they're really there and it's really happening.
Not only what you can do in VR, but also what surrounds the VR experience. Working with things like the setting, the environment, working with the human aspect of VR as well, like addressing things like the moment when you step into the room, the moment when you put on the headset, the moment when you lay down, because That's another unique aspect of this. You actually lay down, so the positioning is very directed, so you fully immerse yourself into the environment and into this world.
When they put on the VR, you feel alone. It's like, it makes everyone disappear.
Yeah, there were a few times when I jumped.
And I had to actually put my arms out just to reassure myself.
A little bit overwhelming sometimes.
I want to stay and watch more. I want to go again, like I'm about to line up right now.
So just one thing, we're actually showcasing this at Nordsken in Skellefteå this spring. So we have 3 headsets or devices that's going to be running. So come up to Skellefteå, you can see it for real. Or actually you can come to our office here in Stockholm, you can make it, show it.
You're welcome. So in the projects that we have presented today, we can see that there's a progress in the technology that we as a production company are using. The first project that we showed you that was launched 5 years ago, the Vodafone Buffer Busters, I think ran on a 3GS. The first kind of 360 video that we made together with Disney, we used a 3D printed rig for. And then for the McDonald's one, we used a jump rig. So there's a fast pace in the technology evolving. Still, mass adoption is far away, we believe. There are quite a few hurdles to come over, and these are some that we've listed. Price points being the first one. Good VR is really expensive. If you want to buy the Oculus or the HTC Vive, that's expensive, and you will need a kick-ass computer to run these simulations as well. So far away from everyone are able to buy these kind of high-end experience technologies yet. There's also a gap in knowledge. It's a hard landscape for consumers to navigate. There's a lot of different brands, a lot of different ways of experiencing VR, and there isn't really a map yet of which VR technology should you as a consumer buy, which one is the most relevant for you. It's hard to navigate. A lot of the distributors that are set on different platforms, they develop experiences that they want to hold exclusive to themselves. So say Oculus wants to develop an experience that can only be experienced on their own platform, which makes a fragmented landscape. And that's not really good for you as a consumer, because that means that you would have to buy all of the different VR headsets to be able to experience this full landscape. And that's kind of what you want to do really today, because there aren't really that many experiences launched. Physical versus digital space. To set up a VR equipment, it takes up a lot of space. And if you live in the center of a city, unless you are filthy rich, that's pretty hard. If you have a small apartment, you might not even have room in your living room to do this, to set up this kind of equipment. We think that we are moving away from that kind of setup. In the future, of course, these technologies, they won't need sensors set up in the room that we need today. Simulator sickness. Most of the experiences, or not most, but a lot, too many of the experiences launched today generate some kind of motion sickness. And we know that a lot of the brands that develop these VR technologies, they work towards minimizing this kind of motion sickness, but it is still a problem, and it isn't solved. And last, lack of captivating software. We're still missing that killer app, something that will make this lean over towards everyone wanting to get into this. We don't still see that kind of software, game, or experience that will make users feel that, yes, I can't live without this. It is still mostly an entertainment thing. But we think that we will sometime soon move into the area where we can't really go without owning some kind of VR headset. So how do we approach VR-related content work today? And talking about VR, we also mean AR, of course. We tend to create these strategic roadmaps for new clients that we get, where we map out relevant platforms and content strategies on a timeline that connects with other brand activities, and this might be implemented on any type of client work, of course. But we wanted to show you an example where a lot of the brand's other activities that builds up to a launch works together with 360 and VR content in a way that we haven't worked with before in a way. And here you have a few examples. So we bunched together the Daydream and the Gear VR as being like the mid-end device experience, and the Oculus and the HTC Vive being the more expensive one. So this is something that we work together with clients on that want kind of the full spectrum. Of course, you would need to narrow it down, but this is a starting point, at least, to educate the client in what is possible. And we'd also like to push this. Why VR? What kind of interactions will make relevant use of the medium? What do we want the users to feel? David, you talked a lot about that. I think we got the picture there. Why do we choose to set this experience in a context that envelops the user in a 360 environment? We might not always have good answers to that, but we like to at least ask ourselves that question, because it is a relevant question. Today, we also see a trend that clients approach us wanting to future-proof their physical artifacts, which means that we are building archives of scan material that can be used in potential future virtual and non-virtual contexts. I think you'll see the video better here, but it gives you a picture of how technologies like LiDAR scans and the Lycra camera can help us future-proof the reality we live in today and transfer that into the reality we might move into tomorrow.
And I think we wish we could have shown one of the projects we're working on right now, but we can't. But a big part of that project is actually working with LiDAR scans and photogrammetry and saving real objects, real worlds into the digital world for future use. It becomes much more, if you look at it from a product brand communication perspective, it's not really about communication perspective. It's about, from a product point of view, how can you save real worlds and use it in virtual worlds. And in this way, it's two realities that collide. We see the way that we are working is changing as a company, where we have upstream, where we work much more with strategic design and helping clients with, on all platforms, creating meaningful products and services and experiences. And then we see how VR and AR is moving much more. We need more different types of competences that we have in our traditional setup for North Kingdom. So it's a difficult thing to handle, because this has become a big part of our business. We actually decided that we need to act on this. So we're moving out, right now we're moving out kind of a VR/AR studio within North Kingdom that we call Enclave. You can look up Enclave because it's not on the web yet, but it's basically a territory within North Kingdom that actually is dedicated on creating VR and AR experiences. And we think it's well needed for, the movie doesn't make sense, it's just a placeholder. So, but so you can try to find a meaning, but it's about space. But the idea of us looking into the future, what kind of competences will we be needed? We need to separate the VR track from what North Kingdom is doing on a daily basis, which is creating experiences and products and services, which is much more a design agency. We're here, we see how some of the work we do for our clients is very production related. And we want to focus on that because we really feel it's an area that's going to take off. In US, it's much bigger, and then in Sweden, it's a huge business. But it's going to come here to Sweden, and the budget's going to grow bigger as clients start to explore what they can do with VR in the future. That was pretty much it. If you want to take a look at the Daydream later on, just come up and approach us. We're happy to help you. We're happy to have been here and that you've been listening to us, so thank you very much.
Thanks a bunch.